Every time we say something bad about the father or the mother of our child, we hurt our child. We would not do it if we knew this. I was 9 and my mother and father was divorced, and it ended up in a very ugly conflict. The effect of hearing so many bad things about my father made me put half of myself in the shade, because in front of my mother, I didn't want to show her the things that I had inherited from my father. When I was 12, they stopped talking to each other. So they didn't meet each other until I was 30 and had my son and gave birth to my son in the hospital. Then they met coincidentally in the hospital. So there were so many years with no contact between them, but it was a cold war. Unintendedly, I think she was pushing him away, and I was angry with him on behalf of her, and I pushed him away as well. My father and his new family didn't know what I was into, so I came with a lot of aggression, which was not mine. It was my mother's aggression, and I was not aware of what was going on. I was too small. This was wrong. I could wish I was 12 years old and could tell her, and him and my father as well, tell them, you cannot deal with this in that way. You have to find it. It's not my problem. Of course, I didn't have the language. It wasn't possible. When I was 20, I went to my father and I said, why didn't you do more to keep the contact? And he said he had been trying, and he said he had contacted different instances, and he had been asking if he could do something, if he could go to court. And they had given him the advice, it's much worse for the child if you go to court, so stay calm. This was in the 1980s. I didn't see the seriousness of what had happened, and I thought I had finished with it. I thought I was at ease with it. I thought I had worked it through. And then I started working with this topic because I met all these men who weren't able to see their children as much as they wanted, and I knew a lot of them. I didn't actually understand it until I was starting to work with this project with interviewing the men that didn't see their children as much as they wanted. It was back in 2016. I was 40. I remember it very good. I saw a video with Eivind explaining what parental alienation is, and I couldn't watch it for more than 2 minutes. I had to turn it off.
Why?
Because it was too heavy. I was watching it and I started bursting. So I had to turn it off, and I had to sit down, and I had to start once more and watching it from the start, because I had never seen someone naming it. I had friends, I got child myself. I saw these men that I knew, friends, after they split up with their partner, they were not able to see their children. And I knew they were good fathers because I knew them. And it shocked me the way they were treated and their despair. Then I say to all the parents I meet who are in his situation, and they often, since I work with this topic, they ask me, what can I do? How can I keep in touch even though my child don't want to be in touch? And then I say, just be patient and continue giving love. Don't give up. Don't feel that you are rejected because the child don't know what's going on. So stay there. If the letters are coming in return, then you have them in a box and give them to the child when they are grown, just so they know that you were not giving up. Because this feeling of being given up is very, it's a big void. I wrote an article in Aftenposten, one of the newspapers in Norway, where I begged the mothers to take care of their fathers and their children, and to do something, and to give time, and to have faith in the fathers, and to not to reject them. And then I started interviewing men. And in that process, when I was into all these other men and did my my project, I think I really started to understand, yeah, put a name on it. And then I finally understood that this is what it is. But I mean, the system was different also in the 1980s. It was not so many divorces, there were not so much written about it, people didn't have the experiences. So in a way, when I look at her, I can also see a person doing the best she could and really trying. This is very important that I say. When I was 30 and I had given birth to my child, and they met in the hospital coincidentally, after that she told me, just before she died, just a couple of months after, by cancer, and she told me, "I'm so sorry that I spoke so badly about your father and ruined your relationship." She understood that now she was going to die and I was left with him, and I had a poor relationship with him. She really took it in, and she was very sorry. So it was a strong moment, and I find it very touching that she did it in this way. And she said that I have been much more broken than I thought, and I hope you can forgive me. But after that, I had a better relationship with him, but it's still now, I'm turning 50. It's a very polite relationship. I see my sister and brother that are from his new wife. They have spent so much time with him. They are so at ease with him. It's quite wonderful to see how, you know, they are joking with him, and they can be rude, and they can be happy, and they can laugh. They have all the spectre, whereas I feel that when I'm with him, I never get to be that child again. You know, I miss being that child, even though I'm 50. It's very strange to feel this, but it's still there. He says when he's watching my child, my youngest child, she's 9 years old, and she's very talkative, just like I was when I was like in that age. And he loves to listen to her, and he says, "It's so lovely to listen to her. She tells all these stories." And I sometimes think that, oh wow, is it because he gets back to this period when he had that relationship with me? Like every 5 years I have like an outburst with him and my stepmother where I scream and I cry, and then he gets very frustrated. So I just try to have a good connection with them, and I am happy that we can have a relationship, and that my children can have a relationship with them. Yeah, and also with who I now call sister and brother, my stepmother's children, that there is a family. My mother grew also up in a divorce with an alcoholic father. It was a heavy childhood. And my grandmother, she got a divorce in the 1950s, which is very early. I can really feel warmth for her. And they didn't have an easy divorce. I don't want to blame any of them. It's a difficult. I know myself. I've been in 2 divorces, so when she talked about my father, he became like a very strange person. I thought, who is this? Is this my father? I mean, what she told was so crazy that I couldn't understand that was the same person. So I also suggested for her that we could call him something else than my father's name, if it was better for her, so that we could call him Victor instead of the actual name of my father. And it was a way to protect her, so she didn't have to pronounce his name. So I went into this protector role, and I thought if I pull out all that could remind her about my dad, she will more easily deal with her life. It's a bit like the Stockholm syndrome, that you protect the one that has kidnapped you. Lots of things that I shouldn't have heard. Things that are not for a child. But she was sharing this with me, and she shouldn't have shared it with me. But it was in desperation, and there happened some conflicts that I heard them on the phone. Once he forgot that I was going to sing in the school, and he forgot about it because he was ill, and she blew it very up. And thinking all the time, humanity, try to be a good human being, try to think bigger, try to not think that people are doing things to hurt. Be gentle, even though you want to throw knives. Just because of the child, because I mean, when you do that, it goes through the child. So you see, if you see back in the history of the women in my family, they have thrown out the names of the men and kept the women's line. This name was put into my name when I was 12. So my mother did it. She just did it. And it was very strange for me. I didn't like it. I felt it was forced on me. And the first thing I did when she died was to send the letter and take it away. Sometimes life is pulling one into things. Like I was suddenly pulled into this interest in all these fathers, and that opened up a lot for me. I have written 2 novels, and I write my 3rd novel now. All these interviews I made into a choir, a male choir, and it was performed by different choirs around in Norway. And it's all about trying to cross some borders and make connections between people that are impossible. And in that exhibition I also made a happy birthday room where I recorded all the voices of my family that are not meeting each other, because it's split up by the divorce between my parents in the 1980s. So my stepsisters don't see my father because they have another father, and he was their stepfather, but after the divorce they missed contact. And so I took up all the voices in different birthday parties and I put them all into the same room. So you could come into the room and have the sound of a happy birthday song with all the voices from my family meeting together in one room. It's like a childish dream for a divorced child. So I see that I'm so much into connecting. So I also did a choir work called Faren, or The Damned Father, where I interviewed men who is not able to see their children as much as they want. And I also interviewed a man who is afraid of having a child because he sees all these men not having any time and any possibility to spend time with their children if they end up in a bad place with their ex after the divorce. And it was very obvious for me that my mother was still occupying my emotional life much more than I had understood. So I have been working for a long time letting her go. The body is often more wise than the brain, I think. So the body often tells you, hey, listen, what's going on now, in a very empathetic way towards yourself. Perhaps then I think that's good way. And also writing. Writing is not only for writers. It's the possibility to write down the first thing you think about and the first thing that falls down. And if you follow this with curiosity to find out what's coming now, and what does this mean, instead of this is ugly. So to write a diary, for instance, every morning, 2 minutes, the first thing that falls into your head without self-censorship, just writing it. And then after 2 months you can look at it and see if you discover something. And I wish that there would be like a hotline for couples that are about to break up and about to make a misery, that you could call that line and you could get like, okay, it's the red line. And you could have the adequate help as a parent, because it's such a difficult time.